I guess I'll start with how have the last 2 weeks of training been, and where's the group heading into this weekend?
A couple good weeks, obviously good energy, a stretch with the international absences. So as always, a chance to work on some things, see new faces. This was a little bit different just because of FCC2 being done and available players to help us with numbers as well as the 18s being away. So just tried to navigate numbers and how we could work on some things, but everybody's returned and in a pretty good place. I know Ender was probably the big concern, but it looks like he'll be out there today, so good news there.
During these last 2 weeks, to have a break at such an intense part of the season, an important part of the season, are there ways that you've tried to keep the intensity up or kind of altered what you've done to maybe keep the energy up during this break? Or what has been your approach to the last 2 weeks to try and bridge this gap where...
Yeah, we've been through this enough that when we have these longer stretches between games, how do you fill the time with things to work on, with video, with one-on-one conversations? It looks a little bit different, but it's really just making sure everybody understands roles and expectations, and you try to keep guys going. I don't think they need to be motivated, but certainly there's guys that I'm sure would love more minutes. And how do you keep their energy up and their focus where it needs to be to continue to push themselves and to help push our group? So I've been very pleased with what everybody's done to help our team in preparation and just being ready.
Miami's played, I think, 55 games, and when you guys played them back in July, they were, still going through a lot of different competitions, or coming off, Club World Cup and all that. How different are they now?
I think from those two matchups, it was 10 days apart, probably 4 or 5 different starters from recent matches. So I think a significant amount of the team of that starting lineup has been different. So sure, we look back at those games and say, okay, what can we take from them? Like I've said in the past, you don't want to go too far back, and in this case, we didn't spend too much of our preparation looking at those games just based on what it looks like now. And I think they're in really good form. Defensively have continued to get better. Offensively have gotten better, and that's why we have this matchup, is because they've been really strong. And so a lot of our focus was, the series with Nashville, and we've seen a lot of Miami-Nashville.
You said you didn't really look back on those matches, but I think Miami was shut out in 5 games this year. You guys had 2 of those. Is there anything or I guess, what did you do well to do that, and how do you replicate it?
A little bit of, defending well as a group, but also being fortunate. I think if you look at the 2 games, there was goals there, for more goals for both teams. So I know we had the 2 shutouts, but we could have conceded a goal or 2 in our home game, and certainly in the away game as well. When you look at some of the chances from wide service, Roman made some big saves. I think we had some goals out there as well. So while we may have kept clean sheets, which is always great, I think it certainly wasn't a perfect defensive performance in either game, but it's what it's going to take now. It's going to be very challenging, but you're trying to limit incredible players all the time, and that's challenging to do, especially in transition moments where you can't have sloppy turnovers and allow guys the time and space to make plays. So it'll be a team effort, just like the previous 2 games, and but even better than what we've seen from those first 2 matchups.
Kind of a follow-up, and the one guy you guys haven't seen this season of their group of stars is Rodrigo DePaul. What has he added to that group to change what they do, and what have you seen from him in these last, you mentioned 5 games you've been looking at?
I think he adds certainly a lot to the midfield. The engine, the passing range, the communication. When you watch the games, he's engaged. He's engaged on both sides of the ball. You could see he's a leader for the group. He's able to influence the game in a lot of different ways. So how he connects from central positions, how he moves off the ball. I mean, when you watch their group, you have top players that will recognize what the opponent structure looks like and make adjustments in certain ways. And even when things look pretty clear, all of them can play under pressure, himself included, and find passes that really open up the game. So he's been a huge influence on their team when you watch from afar.
We spoke with a couple of guys yesterday, and I think it was Evander, Pavel, and Miles about this game, and a common theme that all 3 of them brought up was to find successes being aggressive in play and keeping intensity up for 90 minutes, not switching off. I guess I'd ask, like, what are your thoughts on that as being a key to the match, and then how do you see that actualizing itself in a match?
It has to be controlled intensity. The goal is not to change the way we play because of the opponent and the situation. Of course, there's always adjustments. There's always things that you have to be aware of with the threat when you're putting pressure to the ball and how and when you do that. But it has to be intentional intensity. If we're just running around, we were looking at some of the game management moments of our Columbus series and different structures and how we get pressure to the ball and the efficiency in which you do it. It's to keep the opponent further from goal. And so it's not about suffering and bunkering. It's intentional intensity to go to the ball, to put teams under pressure, to win it, and then to hopefully find a transition moment or maintain possession. So there are areas that we can get better at, and we'll have to get better at with how we run, with how we show intensity in the right moments. And when the moment's not there, we have to understand how to delay, how to slow the game down, how to get our organization right so that when the moment's right, we can get to the ball.
I wanted to ask about Obi. I know we've seen him coming off the bench. Sammy obviously has played really well. And maybe that's just a tough decision between those two, but is Obi to the point where he could be starting these games? Yeah. Is it tactical? Like, how do you weigh that decision at this point?
Obi's ready for starts. I think it's just the circumstances, maybe up until this point, going into this game, that have had him in a reserve role. He's out for a long time, and then as he's working his way back to fitness, we found ways to get him going. But it's also about sharpness. It's when's the right moment for guys to be a starter, and what's the form of the current group. So all those things we're factoring into making these decisions, and we know how important he is and the leader that he is on the field. So I think that really speaks to how Pavel and Sammy have done centrally to have the confidence to keep them on the field with somebody like Obi, who is so important to our group.
And then is there any update on Matt? I know he's been obviously dealing with this injury for a while.
Yeah, he has a minor setback, or I wouldn't even call it a setback. We thought maybe there was I wouldn't say a re-injury, but something he felt, and I think it was just scar tissue, so that was positive news because we had another image and it came back clean. So it probably set him back a few days, and hopefully he can continue to ramp it up now that we have good news as far as nothing muscular.
So it still is his knee, or the scar tissue?
No, muscular,
okay.
quad.
Okay.
Quad, hip area.
You've talked at length about the importance of the regular season and getting you this home game. It's a proof of success. I was curious as the season gets later and the intensities of these games ramp up, how tangible can you feel a home crowd effect change the way your guys play, and in terms of a positive support, or alternatively, something else? But like, is it tangible that you can feel it on the field when the home field crowd kicks in?
Yeah, you were in the building on a couple Saturdays ago. Yeah, that was different. So I think you don't have to look too far in the past to understand the significance of playing at home, because the energy in our building when we went down a goal and how that last stretch looked and felt was the energy of the fans. And so I imagine they're going to be ready the same way on Sunday. But that's the importance of regular season play and being as close to the top as possible to have home games, because I said it after, that was the best environment that I've experienced in my time here.
I wanted to ask you, kind of the last one for me, about Miles Robinson, and we saw him with the national team this weekend, and him getting involved in the coming together at the end of that Paraguay game. And the question I have mostly is that he said after an interview that a younger version of him, he's grown as a lead. Maybe wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have been as vocal, wouldn't have been as engaged. And I was curious about having him now kind of through full 2 seasons. Where have you seen his leadership qualities grow the most, and how has he changed as a captain, as a leader for your squad in that time?
We always challenge Miles with the vocal leadership, but when you talk about leading by example, it's moments like that. I don't think it's manufactured. This is pretty authentic leadership moments that Miles shows, where he's sticking up for a teammate, or he wants to send a message, to the rest of the group or to the opponent. So you can always count on him to back his teammates up, and I think when he does it, there's purpose to it, and it's typically not malicious. He's not a dirty player. He's doing it to protect, and so just another example of him doing it the right way.
Can we get your thoughts on the schedule change that was announced in the time that we've been away?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think for obvious reasons, and we won't maybe discuss it too much at length now, but how much does it really change the schedule now? Not a ton. We align with the transfer window. I know this is more, this might seem like a more selfish, thought, but when I look at the games that we play in colder weather climates compared to the summer, there's just more intensity. And when you look at the summer months, and I know this is, where the fans maybe suffer a little bit, the tempo of the game is not great. There are really difficult conditions to play in our country, and now you're seeing, different challenges with the climate and colder, weather locations. But I remember a couple years ago when we were in Chicago, and I think it was 15 degrees. Yeah, it's cold. That part's not great. There's going to be some of that. But the tempo of the game was still pretty good. And I just think the game is going to look like the tempo we want year-round. Of course, there's still going to be some stretches with warmer conditions, but now you get the summer break as well. You'll have a winter, a summer break. You look at just going into next season with the World Cup. It's almost like 2 seasons, 2 separate seasons. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, the alignment with, the European calendar, the rest of the world, I think that part is going to be very beneficial to how we move forward as a league.